By the time I hit 15, it didn't matter if I was going to get pumped full of drugs, surrounded by bad people, and die within months. I just reached a point where I didn't care if that was it, because it was still better than what I had. I had no reason to not risk it. At the point I knew I needed to get out of the cult, I figured, well, if I'm going to be treated as bad, I might as well be bad. So my plan was to do the opposite of what they wanted me to do and to keep doing that until they kicked me out. I had a stash of worldly goods. It was contraband for the cult. I had a bit of makeup. I had bubble gum. I had a packet of cigarettes I'd found lying on a park bench when I'd been out fundraising one day. All of these things were completely contraband. And so the first thing I did was I made friends with another child who I knew would tell on me to the adults. I told her about my stash, and unsurprisingly, the next morning, they had discovered my stash. We were at devotions and everyone was sat round in a circle, all the other children and some of the adults. They directly accused me. They said to me, right, we know this was Lou. We know that this is your stash. What do you have to say about it? I said nothing, as in I said the word nothing to say about it. So then they said, I'm very disappointed in you, as the Lord's very disappointed in you. Obviously, these things are of the devil, and he's obviously influenced you to have these things. And, you know, that you need to, like, ask the Lord's forgiveness. And I was like, no, not going to. They didn't know what to do with that. And I started to feel very powerful. I started to feel quite confident. I was actually quite enjoying seeing the confused look on this adult's face. I don't think they'd ever come across this reaction before when they gave one of these speeches. I'm beginning to enjoy myself. He decided that I obviously had the devils had taken over my soul and were influencing me, and they needed to be cast out. So they all got round in a circle and they all started doing desperate prayer and chanting. They're like quoting Bible verse and scripture. And I realised how ridiculous it all looked, and I started laughing. I started laughing so loud, I became hysterical. I was just laughing like you would not believe. Tears were coming out of my eyes. I was laughing so hard. And the harder I laughed, the more desperate and loud their chanting got. And at one point, one of the adults started flicking oil and herbs mixed at me, and they were trying to get rid of these demons, and they were saying, cast out to these demons. And I just kept on laughing. They sent one of the adult males, and he came into the room and he was holding his belt. He demanded that I drop my pants and trousers and bend over, because that is how they administered physical beatings. And I looked at him and I realised actually I was almost the size of him. So I said no to that too. And that's when my mum entered the room, and she was so mad. So mad, never seen her that angry. And she went to hit me with her right hand, and my hand stopped it. I never would have pictured myself doing that. I never would have pictured myself capable of doing that. Things went fuzzy, and my next memory is my mother on the floor outside that room. I'm straddling her, I'm pinning down her arms with my knees, and I'm hitting around the face with both hands. And I'm screaming, and I'm shouting, and I'm crying, and I'm completely out of control. And I almost came to myself doing that. A feeling of hitting back. It felt so good. It was a power I had never owned before. It's not something you normally get to be proud of, but I was proud in that moment. I felt so good that at long last, I'd hit back. I'd hurt them back. And the other adults are pulling me off of her. And at that point, I started screaming, "Let me out, let me go." I've never felt more free than I had at that moment in time. I felt invigorated. I felt free. I felt amazing. I felt so powerful at that moment in time.